Nowadays, I hear reports about San Francisco's downfall. Its homelessness, crime, and drug abusers passed out on city sidewalks. Those stories are true. I have seen it myself and stepped around them. I have smelled the urine in the stairwells, too. Every day is different in San Francisco, but the city doesn't seem to change. In the early 1990s, San Francisco had a serious issue with street crime, open-air drug use, and homelessness. I saw it myself back then, too, at Civic Center Plaza, in front of San Francisco City Hall, where a tent city was erected with hundreds of homeless residents and families. There are reports that back then, Golden Gate Park, too, was overrun with homeless encampments. So much so that sections of the park were unsafe for visitors because they were full of litter such as uncollected garbage, abandoned needles, and human waste. But there were other problems too. I remember walking through City Hall in the mid-90s, and the building seemed structurally unsound, with wooden supports seemingly holding up entire sections of ceiling. I remember visiting the morgue when a mother came in to see her deceased son, who had died by some kind of grisly accident, and the attendant told her she should not do it. But she insisted with a blood-curdling plea, "I need to see him." I remember reading a death certificate that same day about a man dying of AIDS who took his own life by ingesting sleeping pills, tightening a plastic bag over his head, and going to sleep. I think he also did something to strap his arms to his sides. It wasn't clear how, though. I remember that a bestseller during that period was the book Final Exit: The Practicalities of Self-Deliverance and Assisted Suicide. I remember when I visited the San Francisco Police Department and thinking at that time that it so reminded me of the television drama NYPD Blues. The old precinct office, drab decor, metal desks, overweight detectives, and the desk sergeant at the front counter banging on an ancient typewriter with two fingers. Bam, bam, bam. And everything was a dull green like a filing cabinet. I remember a case that took me to the 35th floor of the Transamerica building. Such an impressive view, I thought, as the elderly couple explained how their CPA had embezzled over $3 million from their business. There are good memories, too. I remember flying in a small plane above San Francisco, over downtown, the Ferry Building, Alcatraz, Land's End, and the Golden Gate Bridge. It was shortly after 9/11, and I felt so lucky to be there in the back seat of that small plane. I took a lot of pictures that day. Back to the homeless. The mayor at the time, Art Agnes, proved unable to address the homeless situation. His detractors began to call the Civic Center Plaza encampment, the one in front of City Hall, Camp Agnos. In 1991, a savior of sorts arose. The city's former police chief, Frank Jordan, ran against Agnes and won, based largely on his promise to clean up the city, put a stop to rampant street crime, and to systematically address the homeless situation. The key to Mayor Jordan's plan was something called the Matrix Operation. The Matrix was a strategy that entailed teams of 10 to 18 police officers working together to patrol a targeted area, usually a neighborhood with a large homeless encampment, and who would cite or arrest anyone causing a disturbance or breaking any ordinance or law. A positive aspect of the Matrix operation was inclusion of social workers who attempted to address some of the underlying causes of homelessness. It seemed to be a reasonable balance of law enforcement and social services, with the stated intent to get at the root causes and to help people escape homelessness. Shopkeepers, homeowners, and the voters of San Francisco were ecstatic, but the city's progressive leaders and board of supervisors were not. Lawsuits were filed, and surprisingly, the Matrix operation was largely unaffected by the many legal challenges. San Francisco, under the leadership of Mayor Frank Jordan, seemed to have it all figured out. Alas, the success story was not to last. Although the program was achieving the desired results, reduction in street crime, open-air drug use, and reduction in the size of the homeless encampments, many people saw a darker side to the story. Opponents of the Matrix operation began to criticize the heavy-handed police presence as excessive policing, and when Mayor Jordan sought to expand the program to address crime across the entire city, the criticism began to gain traction with the voters. In 1995, the former Speaker of the California Assembly, Willie Brown, who was termed out of the Assembly, ran for mayor of San Francisco. During the campaign, Brown characterized the Matrix operation as persons in uniform operating as if they are occupational officers in a conquered land. End quote. The keystone of Brown's mayoral campaign was the dismantling of the Matrix operation. Willie Brown won election in 1995, and by 1998, the homeless problem was worse than ever. Willie Brown served as mayor of San Francisco from 1996 to 2004 when he was succeeded by Gavin Newsom. I recently visited San Francisco again, and the city looks like it always has. A little rough around the edges, plenty of graffiti, a few tourists here and there, lots of people fishing on the pier, seriously overpriced restaurants, and exorbitant parking fees. But also families at the park, joggers and dog walkers, bicyclists, and shoppers running errands. Every day is different in San Francisco. I saw some homeless sleeping on benches at Washington Square Park in North Beach, but no more than usual. And if that sounds sad or jaded or uncaring, please forgive me. I've seen a lot of it over the years, and I'm not convinced the people in charge want things to change.